Time to go to the phones. We have Connor O'Gara with us from Saturday Down South. He is the national senior columnist at SDS. And we get to talk to him every other Monday, which, I mean, take your pick, Connor. We could have you today, which is the Monday after the regular season ends, and you get some craziness going on. Or we could have you next week when the portal opens. And either way, it's kind of crazy this time of the year, isn't it?
Just a little bit. Just a couple of things going on. Early signing period on Wednesday is definitely going to be on the back burner when you consider everything else that we have to talk about this week. But yeah, it's been a very hectic time of year, and the fact that the 12-team playoff exists, and we've got more resumes that we got to break down. Yeah, there's no shortage of people in there's no shortage of content for people that are in the content game.
Hey, Connor, I just saw one of the first opt-outs, Martin Luther Burden III from Missouri, the receiver there. He's a first-rounder, right? If you're a first-rounder, not in a national championship contention, you kind of opt out, right?
Yeah, Luther Burden III, as you guys, as Arkansas fans saw on Saturday, even when he's not making an impact, I think he still kind of changes how you defend teams, and all the things that guy did 3 years as a starter at Mizzou, staying in his home state as a 5-star recruit. Like there are definitely going to be people that view him as a first-round guy and as somebody that is going to probably climb up those draft boards, I think, once they see him in some of these pre-draft scenarios. But it's interesting. Like Arkansas actually, I thought, did a pretty good job of containing him, and the guy that was getting loose a little bit too much was Theo Weiss. And Theo Weiss is someone that's been in college forever, started his career off at Oklahoma. But, they turned around that offense, and they had this 2-year run with 20 wins because of Luther Burden, and that's what he's going to be known for. So, yeah, I mean, I know fans get frustrated when guys opt out of bowl games. Things a little bit different when you're in that first-round conversation.
Your view on Arkansas, 6-6 after the Missouri loss. They beat one pretty good team in Tennessee. But that's it in terms of teams that you've beaten that are even going to go to a bowl game. And I mean, really, that's the win that you can look on and say, well, that's kind of what this season is built around, because there were no other wins against a winning team. And now we do appreciate the idea that Sam Pittman is coming back, according to Brett McMurphy's source. No surprise on my part. So what's your view?
It's a tough place to be, because I understand why fans are frustrated. And I understand perfectly well why there is this sense that the ceiling is limited with Sam Pittman as the head coach, and you will only go to like 8-4 type places, 9-3 type places with him, and you're not necessarily exploring what that market could look like. And by the way, a market that so far would set up really, really well if you're in the market for a head coach, because if that job were theoretically open, it'd be the best job available. It'd be better than UCF. It'd be better than UNC. I do think that there is some angst from that alone. But at the same time, you're still talking about what this program could do in the 12-team playoff context, and that is important. And I think that the move to keep Sam Pittman for year 6, yes, it was done by Hunter Yurachek, who has a lot of faith in Sam Pittman, but it was done with the 12-team playoff in mind. I think they want to be able to build on what they did this year in those positive moments, have a full offseason of Taylon Green in this offense, build around him. Hopefully, for the sake of Arkansas, they can keep Travis Williams, and he's not leaving to become a head coach somewhere. I do think that's in his future. And you can try and say, hey, what does it take to be able to get to that 9-3 mark? The schedule is really difficult, and that's going to be the toughest part. But I think there is a sense of, okay, we at least improved, and we showed that we could have some of these great moments like we did against Tennessee. Let's try and see if we can build on that.
What about championship games coming up here? The Georgia and Texas are in. Penn State and Oregon are in. And the other two championship games in a Power 4 league, Big 12, ACC, these teams are playing to get into the championship, correct? Because Clemson's not getting in after that loss to Miami. I don't know if this is a year where two Big 12 teams.
To South Carolina, yeah.
Or to South Carolina, that's right. I don't know if two Big 12 teams get in, especially with the idea that a loss in that championship game is 3 losses. I know maybe you don't want to penalize for making a championship game, but do you think that there's going to be a 4th SEC team that gets in?
I don't, but golly, I mean, let's be honest. Alabama does not deserve to have a chance to play for a national championship. The way that they came out against Oklahoma was that was the nail in the coffin, or it should have been. That for a third loss to get blown out like that against the 6-6 team. By the way, second time Alabama lost to a 6-6 team this year. I mean, what are we doing if Alabama's in the playoff? I'd rather see South Carolina, and I know Alabama's got the head-to-head. They played that game in Tuscaloosa, but South Carolina at least won 6 in a row down the stretch. They had 4 wins against teams that were in the AP top 25 at the time of the matchup, and they just went on the road and beat Clemson and became the first team to win in that place in consecutive trips since 2012. This is still a system that is we're figuring out what it looks like, and figuring out what it looks like going into conference championship weekend is complicated. There are people that don't think SMU already has a playoff berth clinched. What are we talking about? 11-1 SMU is not getting left out of the playoff, even if they lose to Clemson. They would have there's no way in which they would drop 5 spots for losing that game to Clemson for a team that earned an extra game. Meanwhile, idle 9-3 teams are going to get in, so I wouldn't want to see that scenario play out. I don't think it will, but who knows? I mean, it's going to depend on also, what happens with this Big 12 championship. Are we going to get some chaos? There's a lot of stuff that can play out, but I tend to think that it'll just be the 3 SEC teams, but I don't know. Crazier things have happened, and this is the 12-team playoff era where crazy very much is on the table.
Can Jimmy Franklin get it done in a Big Ten championship game? That's kind of the knock on him is he's the Lane Kiffin of the Big Ten, just can't win the big one. What do you think? Any chance?
Let me say it in Spanish for you guys. No. Look, this is a guy that I have grown to be very frustrated watching because of how he acts in big games, how he acts after big games. I don't have any faith that James Franklin is going to win a 60-minute chess match with Dan Lanning. I really don't. And I would love to know how much prep they've done on Oregon before this past weekend, wherein it looked like Ohio State was a lock to get to the Big Ten championship, and we're going to have this rematch with Oregon and Ohio State. And instead, all of a sudden, Penn State finds out that, actually, Ohio State puked on its shoes against Michigan once again, and it's actually Penn State playing in this game. But no, I don't have that faith. I don't have the faith that Drew Aller is going to be able to move the chains against a really, really good Oregon defense. And I think this is just going to be another one of those instances in which we're reminded that James Franklin against top 5 teams, don't trust it. Just don't. And Oregon, to be at this place now, last unbeaten in FBS, only FBS unbeaten in the regular season, they've earned everything that they've gotten. And I think they're going to earn a Big Ten championship by taking care of Penn State in pretty convincing fashion.
Let's stay in the Big Ten just for a moment before we get to SEC championship game. What's going to go on in Ohio State with Ryan Day? I mean, the guy's got this incredible record against everybody that doesn't wear maize and blue. And they're going to go to a playoff. Who knows? They may win a national championship. But that'd like be the only way to placate fans in Columbus or anywhere around Ohio because of 4 straight losses to Michigan. It's just so odd to think about the idea of we hate this coach. They're going to go to the playoff. I mean, I understand where they're coming from with this. It's really frustrating. It's just, I keep going back to the idea of this is such an odd sport that we cover, Connor.
It's so unique, Phil. It's a one-of-one situation. There's never been anything like it before. I don't know if there will ever be anything like it again, but that loss was so bad, so unbelievably bad in every possible way. And with this $20 million roster that Ohio State has, yes, it is now truly title or bust in ways that we have never seen before with a head coach. And that is probably to some shocking. And you're going to say, like, oh, fans are just overreacting and they should just be happy that they're in this conversation. No. They spent $20 million. They're facing a Michigan program that was bottom 5 in the country in percentage of returning production with that $20 million roster after losing 3 in a row to that team. And they paid $20 million for this roster to not lose to Michigan again. And in their own building, they still found a way to lose that game. And to me, I don't care if they lose the national championship on the last play, and it's a game in which Ohio State gets robbed by the officials. If that happens, Ryan Day is gone. Anything short of a national championship, Ryan Day is gone. They will move on. And that is really what's going to set the wheels in motion for this coaching carousel, because right now it's not really spinning a whole lot just yet, but that's going to be the thing that has a true ripple effect, similar to what we saw with Nick Saban retiring at Alabama.
It's also like when SMU made their change in basketball, and look at the Look at the chain reaction that it sent from there. All right, Texas, Georgia. No way Georgia wins again with 3 interceptions thrown by Carson Beck. But then again, if they hold Texas to under 1.5 yards per carry, maybe they can.
I'm leaning Texas. And I haven't made like a final pick on this one. I just did like my early thoughts and published that shameless plug, SaturdayDownSouth.com. But it's baffling to look back at this first game because it just made no sense. And the only thing that makes sense about it, if you want to just try and like break down both sides, how did this result happen? Georgia's defense just had the single best performance of any unit all year in college football. And if you can just accept that, you can kind of look beyond some of the other things. Like Texas allowed 30 points in this game, yet the Texas defense dominated. I mean, they allowed one scoring drive more than 34 yards, and it was the pivotal drive. But still, this is a Texas team that since that night, they have done nothing but win. And, yeah, Arkansas fans know it's not always the prettiest thing in the world, but this Texas defense, it's just nasty. It is good enough to win a national championship. And can Carson Beck turn it around right after he's, in the midst of this stretch right now, 118 consecutive passes without an interception, longest stretch of his career, and that's coming off of what he did, mid-season with those struggles. So I do wonder how this is going to benefit Texas in this rematch and Sark making those adjustments. But I think that's kind of why I'm leaning Texas. I just trust them more. I trust their defense. I think their defense is easily the best unit in this game. But you just never know with Georgia playing in that building, going to have a little bit of that home field type of advantage. But, yeah, Texas has just been unbelievably good and definitely a worthy SEC championship participant.
Connor, always great stuff. Appreciate you stopping by with us, and we'll look forward to talking in a couple of weeks when we know what this playoff field looks like.
Sounds good. Appreciate it, guys.
Connor O'Gara, the national senior columnist at Saturday Down South, with us every other Monday on Halftime.
BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, and college basketball, NHL to UFC and MMA. Head to BetOnline today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here.